Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Deaths, back with another Kamihime project video. Sorry for this one being a little bit late. I was partially sick and then trying to get over that, and then trying to catch up on quite a few things too. I've got a few videos on the way, in fact. But, this is the, wedding event for, I think, the third year now? But, this wedding event's also a raid event, and it is Thunder enemies, but there's a lot of interesting stuff with this event. First and foremost, though, the two limited characters are both good for their respective elements, so anybody that was waiting for a limited banner, you can probably pull on this one. But, keep in mind that there is a crossover that's later on, too, so if you're saving for pity, just wait until then, or if you happen to have more than 90,000 magic jewels, then you could try to pull on this. But, also, there's a free character from here too. It's a brand new character entirely. So there you go. I've actually gone through the storyline on this too. It's actually a pretty interesting storyline to say, like, just to say the least. And also there's a heroic fight. The heroic mechanics are a little bit different because, of course, advantage element can be used, but there's also light element that can be used. I'll go over that as well. But generally, since it's a raid event, you can get help from others. The storyline isn't as long as it normally is, so we got a little bit less magic jewels from that, so keep that in mind. But you still get the same rewards from the other stuff too. And on top of that, you probably want to be pretty strong for this heroic because of how it works, so make sure that you can, like, at least deal with a few different things for it. And even the normal fights can be a little bit annoying and catch you off guard if you're not prepared, so definitely bring a healer for this one, in my opinion. Definitely bring a healer. But, of course, expert anybody can do. Ragnarok, they want rank 16. I don't know why. If you're going to make it rank 16, you might as well just make it rank 1. That's easy to get. Rank 50 for Ragnarok Plus and rank 100 for Heroic. That rank requirement is going to change for Heroic later down the line, though. If I remember correctly, they went 130 or 140 later on. I forgot how much. So keep that in mind. In fact, all content in the game is going to want rank 140 or less. So, but there's a free Kamihime, there's a free Dolan, there's a free weapon, a lot of good stuff to try and get from this event. So there you go. But the way these fights tend to work, the boss focuses her attention on one character, and then you'll see her trying to nuke that character. But it doesn't last forever, so keep that in mind. It is the first action whenever she's at half HP or less. If it focuses on your soul, you could easily see the soul getting wiped out. Because if you don't protect yourself pretty well, the damage will rack up pretty high on your character. So keep that in mind. She can also debuff defense when you during an enemy burst, and then when she's enraging, she'll AoE everybody and up her own thunder damage. So keep in mind on that one. And then on top of that too, if somebody's holding that attention, she will nuke them pretty hard. So that's probably a good time to put protection on one character. Anybody that's using the Romulus or Joan line or whatever, there's an EX skill you can learn where you can just protect all damage, like just complete damage null for the one character you choose. Best to put it on the character that she focuses her attention on, if you're using that. So that's my own personal suggestion for a strategy on that one. But Expert's got 7.2 million HP. Ragnarok's got 15 million. And Ragnarok Plus has got 72 million. The difference between the Ragnarok and Ragnarok Plus compared to Expert, though, she's going to use that attention thing on the first turn, and then every 5 turns. It's not just a 50% for that. And then to make it even worse, Ragnarok Plus also forces her to use it at 25% or less HP, so you are guaranteed to see it 3 times in Ragnarok Plus, no matter what happens. So that's something to know. Now the deal with the heroic fight, same mechanic with the targeted thing, only it's going to be put on your soul, can't be erased, it's permanent, you can't defend against that one. Reason being is because after that first turn, if there is any point in the fight where that targeted effect is not on the soul, you will instantly be killed. It will be that unblockable 100,000 damage and will keep getting spammed until you die. So if your soul happens to die, it doesn't even matter if they have auto revive or not, because if they auto revive, they will come back without that effect. But if your soul happens to lose that effect, the fight's over. Now, on top of that, there are some very, very dangerous things you need to pay attention to. At half HP or less, she's going to start putting confusion on your characters. Not the soul, but your other characters. That can get in the way of some stuff. She will put a 5-turn poison that deals 1,500 damage on your soul when she's above half HP. Both these moves happen every 5 turns. So any turns that's in a multiple of 5, it will happen. To make matters even worse, she will do 30,000 non-element damage. It ain't thunder. Non-element damage towards your soul. Once at 80% HP, once at 60%. You can use damage cut for these. You may want to sit up and use any sort of cut or be able to block it or cover or whatever to keep your soul alive for those. 30,000 damage is very high. So keep that in mind. And then on top of that, still does the lightning damage to, well, they say lightning, it's really thunder. Still does thunder damage to your soul. Single target stuff for that. It's 1 hit for normal and 4 hits for raging. So raging could be pretty dangerous. It's got 3 orbs. You probably could sit up and do some orb removal. But anything that prevents it from having a turn like Dizzy or Flame Bind, stuff like that, won't work. But if you got some good orb drain, you could probably use that too. I know there's a couple of characters that can actually do it on both I do believe wind and light, but that's the thing, it's like you're just delaying her actions for that one. Biggest thing is just be able to protect your soul. Because if the soul goes, you might as well just say you lost a fight. But that's the other big thing. If you are using light or wind, you are not affected by that damage reduction and all that other sort of stuff. So elemental advantage isn't the only one that can actually do this fight. The off element penalty will not affect the light either. So use a light team or a wind team. Of course, anybody paying attention to me and Kamihime Project and all that already knows if it's light, I've got a very good shot at doing it. So there you go. My light team on global side is easily my best, so there you go. Some recommended Kamihime for this. Coverage, Kamihime is very, very good for that. Gaia can do cover on both wind and light, so if you have either version, there you go. But they suggest Romulus because of the fact that she's got a permacut for all that type of stuff. I think you can use that EX skill to block out one hit too, so there you go. You can keep your HP up with Asclepius, but if she auto-revives, you still lose the targeted effect, so don't even worry about the auto-revive. Parashurama is very, very good for this fight, so highly recommended for that one. My other personal suggestion for a soul to recommend for this fight too is somebody that can actually like do a little bit of like damage control where it's like debuffing and all that type of stuff. So Caspar can be pretty good for the debuffing. She carries like 30% and then also has a stackable defense down, so Caspar can handle defense down on her own if you really want to. Or can play support role, where you can basically have her buff and heal. Caspar is always good for a lot of these challenges because of that reason. And then of course Perseus is a very good option for some debuff and even orb control, because I think Perseus can sit and like prevent orbs from gaining quite a bit. So if you want some more overdrive protection, there you go. Just make sure to have somebody else to cover for those two, because they're easily not going to survive that trigger at 80% 30%. You need somebody else to like take the hit or simply just bring some more damage cut. You can use damage cut, but you can't use elemental resistance towards that. And that's another thing if you happen to use the wind version of Gaia. She uses thunder resist and damage cut, both combined. You only have the 40% damage cut for the triggers. So keep that in mind. Gaia resists 60% damage because of the thunder effect. So you're losing 20% of that for the triggers. They suggest Frigg because that's pretty good. And on top of that, Frigg also carries ailment block. If the fights start taking too long, you will need some ailment block. That will be very, very good for these fights. Azazel is good for long term, of course. Like, I still wish I had her. They say Aether could also step and help you out because you're stacking burst buffs on yourself. Just make sure that you still keep HP up, because even though your Kamihime aren't going to get targeted, you still want to keep their health still decent if they happen to be draining it through techniques and all that. That said, though, since it does focus a lot on your soul, Tish is very good for light teams because full heal. She also comes with some decent debuffing and removes some resistance towards debuffs towards enemies too, so that's also helpful. Athena can cover, Athena can cut, she can help out with a lot of that type of stuff. Momoka, she's limited. I have her though, very, very good for that type of stuff. They say Indomitable can be given to one character from one of the Epic Quest characters, so I'm guessing she's like a SR. So maybe you can get that to your soul in worst case, because Indomitable shouldn't remove the effect. So that's something to know. Indomitable shouldn't remove the effect. Auto revive does, because you literally die. If you do want to use some little off element options, you can bring Terra for that one. Well, her name is actually Tellus, but if you want to use a off element option, they suggest her too, because she can sit back and support the soul directly. Same case with both versions of Jahudi. I think it was Wind and Light. So there you go. But the Wind one's limited, so keep that in mind. And then yeah, there's invincibility type stuff too that somebody can put on a character. I don't know who Ninwil is. I'm about to take a look at him. Oh, her. Okay, yeah. She can put invincibility on somebody too, so there you go. That invincibility is going to be very, very helpful for that fight. So there's some SR options for this fight too, so keep that in mind. But other than that, they also said Vlad was good here too. Like some good defender boosting in order to keep your HP high. But souls usually tend to have a lot of HP anyways. Honestly, if you have been grinding some stuff, you may have close to 20,000 or even 30,000 HP if you're trying to take on this heroic. So there you go. You may have more than that. But unfortunately, if you're using wind, your best chances of having high HP means you've already done some grinding on the wind malicious raid. And that's a very difficult thing to actually have done by this point. So if you have more than enough HP, you can put your soul at full HP and just face tank the nuke. No cut. So that's always an option too if you happen to raise your HP high enough. But other than that, usual stuff. You get the free SSR stuff. This time it is large assault, medium defender, but it's still better than what you get from all the ultimate raids. So if you kind of want more assault, that's an option. But personally, for Thunder, I would rather have the other one, where it's large defender, because you get assault and vigor from one of the weapons from the Guardian raids. So that said, you're probably better off getting the other version. But this is fine for just starting off. So event weapons have gotten very good lately. And then on top of that too, if you happen to use this event I do in off element, you can sip and get some regeneration. So there you go for that one too. But even just using her normally, she ups the recovery effect of everybody when put in subs. I mean, when put in main, and also their elemental attack. But I don't know if this is like the Kaiser's. If it is, that recovery is not going to be that helpful. So the thing with that, in fact, you also get Ascension too from that same weapon I mentioned earlier that got the Vigor and Assault, so that can offset from this too. But by the time you're using that type of stuff, you may actually need her for more healing. Who knows? So that said, it all depends on what you got for the healing effect. Also, the missions, it is fire for the Ragnarok fight. The other two are the same as usual. Just use Kamihime for expert, and you just clear Ragnarok Plus on your own. Like, all three still have to be done on their own. Also, be sure to do this 5 times with 2 or more people in the raid every single day if you want extra magic jewels on top of everything else. As for the character they mentioned too, Tellus. I always thought she was Terra because of how this got Google translated, but she's an awkward one, to be quite honest. She supports the soul very, very, like, a lot. Like, the soul's attack and defense is going to get boosted, and then the combo rate is also going to get boosted. She focuses so hard on the soul. And then she can do a protect with a self-damage cut. So she can redirect that trigger. She might actually be very good for this heroic off element. She even boosts the soul. The HP of the soul, even in sub slots. So there you go. But her kit changes if the soul dies. If the soul dies, then she's going to instead up her ability performance for the second ability, and the first ability is going to be a 5 times thunder nuke, like 5 hits. Now, given how the heroic fight works, you're not going to see the second half of her kit, or that's pretty much a fight failure at that point anyways. But this one specific condition actually shines very well for her, because she can buff your soul and then also protect them from damage from the triggers. So that might actually help you out for that one. But the HP up is said to be between 5 and 10%, somewhere around that mark. I don't know for sure, but again, it'll give your soul more HP. So regardless of whatever weapons or whatever happens, your soul gets more HP with her in sub slots. So that said, if you're really not worried about keeping your soul alive, in a lot of cases you probably want to, put her in the sub slots of any team. She don't even have to be mainline. If you're doing the fight correctly, you do not need more than 5 Kamihime. If you're doing any fight correctly, you do not need more than the soul and 4 Kamihime anyway. You'll have 2 slots to just play around with some interesting strategies too. Because there are some interesting things where you may end up sacrificing a character and then powering up somebody else because they got sacrificed. It depends on who you have. Speaking of which, Wind, I forgot her name exactly, but she's Vlad's helper. But there's a limited Wind character that's got in a swimsuit. She's Vlad's helper. I can't think of her name right now, but she's a very, very good one for this event too. Because if you sacrifice two Kamihime, then she'll end up being a very big boost. In fact, you can indeed sacrifice 2 Kamihime if you happen to pull Kali, because there's an epic quest to get another one that can sacrifice herself, so there you go. So there are some interesting setups with sacrificial characters too, so that said, you've got different options to use your sub slots and whatnot, and she's also another one that gives you another option because you can just give your soul more HP. Like, it won't even matter what element, more HP for your soul. But anyways, that's all for this. Expect a heroic video of this too. I still have an old heroic video to post as well, so it's late, but I'm still going to get it out there. Then there's a third heroic video I gotta get out, maybe a fourth one. Expect quite a few heroic videos because one heroic I've already cleared, I've already got it on camera. I just need to sit up and edit it and then get it uploaded because I tend to put my own music for some of these. Then on top of that too, this heroic is definitely going to be cleared. I'm allowed to use light. Anytime I'm allowed to use a light, expect a content clear. Light is far and away my strongest element. They can practically solo anything they face right now in the game. Like, unless it's like, of course, they're still doing really well in the malicious raids too, if I use them off element. But my light is very, very powerful. I don't think I need to say much more about that one. They're able to do so much stuff. So that said, the fact that I'm allowed to use light without a penalty is just basically handing me a win at this point. So expect a heroic fight of this. And then on top of that too, heroic record is indeed in the game. There's some heroic fights in there. They are permanent heroic fights because they're just reruns of event ones. So that said, you can see videos on those eventually as well. I'm going to clear the fire one because I was so close to clearing it before I got screwed over before. So I'm going to clear that fire one. And I didn't even get screwed over by my skill. It's just how the game was at the time. Because it ended up getting really unstable, being like a good 200 something turns in. But I was like 5% away from winning. So expect a heroic fight of that one too. Some of you may already know what it is. Lastly, I still have 2 other videos to put out. One of them is going to be a run of the Wind Malicious Raid. And another one is going to be the guide on the Wind Malicious Raid. So that said, there's a lot of videos on deck just off of that. And then I may end up doing another Misttrain video too pretty soon because I'm learning more stuff about that. But a lot of my strategies tend to go in a more defensive aspect. But again, you might see more on that one too. So there's a lot of stuff that's lined up. But anyways, that's all for this, guys. More will come soon, and take care.